to actually take questions and, get an actual response as opposed to sending work around the country and you don't know what people think. This is great. So I like that. So he's gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little chat up here. I'm Nick DeVries. I'm the gallery committee chair. Help the organization sometimes put up shows. But one of the things the gallery committee does is we sit around a table and we look at all the submissions. And when Phillip's submissions came around the table, there was a lot of conversation. It sparked a lot of interest and intrigue amongst the gallery committee. And on paper, it's hard to know and understand the work. It's really great to see it here. So we're just gonna do a little chit chat back and forth.
I can say I'm pretentious on the page, that academic speak, but in real life, I'm just a goof.
You're just a goof. You bring it down.
Yeah.
Well,
we're Westerners. We're humble.
Yeah, we're humble, right? Yeah, as I said, your artist statement, it reads pretty nice. Can you just introduce yourself quick, Phillip? Tell us where you're from, what you're up to, where you're from typically, or what.
I'm originally a Chicagoan by way of the great migration from Arkansas. So if I say something in an accent that you might not get, it's because that's a mixture. I attended the Art Institute in Chicago, got my BFA, and I got my MFA from the University of Chicago, University of Illinois at Chicago. And I've been working for probably 40 years. Started as a sculptor, started as a painter actually, but my paintings got so big, they slid off the wall and rolled across the floor. And from there, I started making objects. And for most of my career as a sculptor and as a sort of a poster digital artist, I've used political and ethnic and social satire. As time went on and during the COVID experience, being separated and isolated from people really had an effect, and working on screens just wouldn't get it anymore. I had to touch something. I had to scrape stuff across the canvas, and it had a real effect on how this work developed. One of the compelling things, how do you deal with losing identity or having been distanced from strangers? I realized we need strangers.
Yeah.
I say if a squirrel goes out and doesn't ever see another squirrel, that squirrel's gonna be crazy, right? So we need strangers as just going to the market or seeing people on the street, and this work, there may be some celebrated people, but it's anybody and everybody that you see.
It sounds like you have a long kind of arc, kind of in and out of material and media.
Right.
Do you feel like after this body of work that you're showing here, that you'll continue in this space, or do you think you're feeling something else here?
Because, you do different things in different media, it's hard for people to pin you down, and I just went where the work took me. But now I'm kind of committed for a good distance with painting. But three-dimensional elements are creeping back in. But when I was doing the posters, just to be frank, with posters, digital posters, people may love the images, but they're highly reproducible. And in the hierarchy of art world, paintings, that's one of a kind. So on one hand, that was just a driving need to do it. On the other hand, it was like, let's explore that.
So you mentioned that there could be some well-known images behind.
Yes.
When you picked up the paint palette and you started scraping on the canvas again, did you have a direction where you thought, I'm going to do these and then I'm going to cover up? Or was there a process that organically kind of showed itself?
Well, from that COVID experience and having this, it distanced us from one another, and all we could see with our eyes and smiling and all kinds of expressions fell out of us. We really had to look to see who was what, and also the divisions, the political divisions that evoked. So the beginning is kind of like a trilogy, was balaclava, a ski mask, with just the eyes and the mouth, and of notable figures. It's like anybody and everybody. And my palette, I kind of have a little uneasiness with the desire and drive for realism, because if reality was so good, we wouldn't need art. And two, reality ain't so good now. We need to change it, right? We could do a lot better. So reality, I painted people starting with sort of like colored grays mixed so that they would never be exactly naturalistic. They may be representational, but in a sort of a abstract way, or put through an abstract filter. And the people I chose was anybody and everybody. I went to Pinterest, fell in that hole, and I started selecting images, and the way I treated them from that source is to print out, and I should have brought it here, software called Capture by Adobe will just give you an SVG, a sizable graphic, at any scale. And I started using those because I wanted it impoverished, so I had to invent it because I didn't want to be a slave to just what it looked like. It's like, okay, we could be more challenging than that. And
so are those images kind of pixelated? And
no. The SVG will take. Let me see. I can give you an example, and maybe you can describe it better than I can.
You're welcome.
Okay.
A little collaborative.
Yeah. Okay. It will take a photograph and reduce it to something like this. I don't know if you can see it. So I have this as a photograph. Then I put it through this, and it sort of flattens it. And so I have to imagine the depth of the face.
Fix out the extreme value.
Yeah, just extreme posterized value, like the cheap, I can't pronounce it. Che Guevara.
Oh yeah.
That kind of image, that's what it sort of starts at, and then it's up to me to flesh it out. So I don't believe art is about solving problems. It's about creating problems that you want to play with. It's like Dick Daley, the father said, the police are not here to create disorder, they're here to preserve it. My task is to not create order, but or disorder, but to play it against itself, so that we get something different. And so I took those images and I projected them up on the canvas, just that black and white. I'm a good draftsman. If you ask me to draw something, if I can't draw it for you in like a minute or two, I got to take it home and work on that, whether you see it ever or not. I got to work that out. So from there, I started painting, and it started with these balaclavas, and they were just like mixing complementary colors to get a kind of gray and adding white to it. It's very kind of severe, but I just took anybody and everybody. They're everybody from prostitutes, male and female, writers. There isn't even a person passing for white in this image, but I did want to make it skin color such that you would recognize, right away their identity. It's sort of like, well, identity is one of those things that has been turned into a commercial battery now. And then you have people, I've experienced this a lot with Black people, and we have a great mix in St. Louis, from the rural to the the urbanite, is that you have to be authentic and represent whatever group or tribe you're part of. My thing is like, I'm influenced by everything and everybody. And to tie myself down to something like, well, I'm a grandpa, I'm an artist, I'm a teacher, I'm a husband, I am like a writer in some ways, adventurer. I mean, I live so many lives, how can you pin it down to one thing? This is me. In my thinking, it doesn't actually exist as a complete whole thing. So I'm writing an article and it starts off with omit I. And that's a reference to Omit Logic that was made, a film made about Richard Pryor, one of my heroes. And it has to do with, if you relax the notion of I and look outward and understand the symbiotic relations you have with other people, they influence you all the time. I talk a lot, but I listen hard. My wife tells me, I should listen more, which I say is my secret weapon is talking and listening simultaneously. I can do that. Okay.
So there's a lot to chew on here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting for viewers who you're dropping in on us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know you prior to this experience. We haven't seen this on the walls until today or yesterday when it was being hung. So it's really engaging to hear how much thought and kind of intention went into what we see on the walls. How do you mentioned like you've got all these different identity layers,
Mm-hmm.
these kind of wavelengths maybe. One of the things you said is you're a teacher.
Uh-huh.
How do you interact with your process as an artist with your students?
Well, one of the things, just on a simple level, when you're juiced and doing well, they catch that vibe. And my teaching philosophy is kind of like Socratic. So it doesn't look like I'm teaching, but I'm asking you a lot of questions, and I'll pull out the skills as we need them. And I teach entry-level classes, so teach people basically how to see, to notice things, around them. And I carry around in my head at least 4 or 5 critical theory ideas that I might pull out on anybody to just probe them to think. But the object is to have people think for themselves and discover their sensibility, their sense of touch, their sense of how they see things. And I avoid the word style. It's like sensibility. Don't get hardened into a style. Like, these are not exactly hardened into a style. The way they paint it, I don't know how they're going to turn out. It's like, okay, I might use just 2 colors, or it might get thick, it might get thin. It's just like, I don't know. And I was asked a question on a grant, and most of these questions are so like, they ask the same questions, only slightly different. And am I answered that question? But they asked a really good question. What is it you love about art? And I said, it's exciting. It's the fear and the excitement of not knowing how it's going to come out. It's like, it can succeed. Sometimes you can succeed, and it'd be just boring as hell. It's like, I did everything and I completed it. No, that's not what it's about. Discovery. So I impart that to my students. Discovery. I am finding people are now kind of taking on some of the stuff, a likeness of my work, and that's creepy. I walk in a room and see people doing what you're doing. It's like, are you in the Twilight Zone or something like that? That's not good. I'm falling down.
Do you find that your students struggle with your method of teaching, where you're not giving them an end place to find?
Sometimes in the upper level classes, that's what we do. And my upper level class, and here's another mouthful of art talk. What is it? 2D, advanced 2D practices. Oh, God. It's like painting, drawing 3, or whatever you do, right? As long as it's two-dimensional. And basically, I told him, your first task is to figure out what it is you're going to do. That is your initial assignment. And everybody said, how do you explain that? And then I go into a talk about the body of work. And the body of work is, you find out what is common, what keeps repeating, what are you interested in, and is it interesting enough to pursue, knowing, there are crap paintings you have to do or crap work in order to get to the good stuff. And don't be, upset or sort of discouraged by that. That's just a mirage. But you stick to it, and find out what's going on. So I teach from the position of insight, and the insight. I think that you get in the Western culture. There's an idea, abstract idea, and then there's an image. There's no images that don't come without their implications, right? It's like images are laden, to the hilt with ideas and how we respond to them. So someone called me conceptualist, but if I'm a conceptualist, I'm a wet conceptualist, not dry and austere. But you gotta experience it. And it's something that's got to emanate from that work. And I also think that there's a lot of crap out there. Of course there is. But even the crap you don't like, if it has influenced majorly other crap, whether that's good or not, it's significant. If it's historically significant, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not.
Right.
So it's you have to be, or I think being open and giving the artist a opportunity to deliver something. You give them a fair shake, and you don't have to agree with it.
I think my last question for you before maybe we throw it out to the audience would be about where your intention and process ends and where the sort of public enters and how you feel about that space. We talked a little bit about the art talk and the art speak and the artist statement. When do you let go of the work?
Well, it's not mine once it's done, and I tease my other fellow artists. It's like, and students, if you want to hold on to it, you got artist disease. It's like my wife and I were talking about today. If we raise our children to be independent, they'll hate us at a certain point, but they'll come back and say, that's my friend. I really like that person, regardless of my family relations. And really, it's like it's out of my hands. And as a teacher, I found I sort of truly endorse this. Is that okay, once the work is out in the world, then it becomes art proper. But if you're making it and shoving it under the bed, it is more or less art in waiting, so to speak, and a hobby. People should have the right to say this or that, or at least be exposed to it. And so my job as an artist is not done until I've promoted it as best I can. And I believe everybody should have an opportunity to say this. Everybody in the world that I can afford to send it to. That's the thing. And I sort of let it go. And because I don't know everything, I don't know the implications of what I'm doing, and nor should I. And so hearing your feedback helps inform me. It's more, I know it sounds cliche, it's more of a dialectical experience in my culture, call and response. I'm informed, you're informed, and start from a position that, not everybody's an artist, but everybody is creative. When nobody's looking and you're bored and you got a job to do, you make a mistake or you do something differently, it's like, damn. That's one thing I don't think AI has managed to get yet, to recognize a mistake that has great potential, you know. You may not be an artist, professional artist, so we've just been trained in this art habit. It's for me, I say to my students, you know, thinking is crack, but a good idea is like meth. You just give up all your teeth, get away, you know, lose your complexion, it's done. It's like you've fallen into that. And we need feedback to know if we're just talking to ourselves, you know. Like I have a lot of ideas that have driven this work into being, but if there's no implication, it doesn't make sense to an open-minded person. Well, I gotta rethink this. You know, I don't want to be talking to myself. You know, when people say art is communication, it's about communication. Then why do they make it so hard? It's like, that doesn't make sense. As a kid, I just like, it's hard to do, and you have to work your way through the person's ideas, and if it's really got you, you gotta go and do some research. Going through the Art Institute in Chicago as a student was a really great thing, because you saw this is in Chicago, really great things, because, you know, you'd be walking across the room just, you know, in a painting, go, look at me. I know I'm 500 years old, but I got you. And that's the thing, you know, that's the excitement. Then you go run home and research and say, why does this person grab me? You know, why is beauty dangerous? You know, I give up my will and am seduced and dragged into loving this stuff. You know, I really love art. But it's just one thing of life. It's not my identity. Too diverse. So, questions. Anybody got questions? I prefer dumb questions, not smart.
All right. Why is that guy's teeth so bad?
She is a mugshot of a person who instead of like that, and that's another thing. You say teeth so bad. I didn't really notice that until actually somebody received it and selected it for a show. And I know the person who did it. She taught me at the Art Institute. And I know her work, and I said, yeah, she would choose that one, you know, of what I sent, because it's raw and crude. I didn't want to refine, if I have any sensibility, it's not refined, polished representation. I have no problem with representation, and I say to this is that why it's attractive? It's attractive because it is not what it appears to be. And not many creatures can enjoy that. That's why we like film. This is like, we know it's not real, but, you know, and that's part of, you know, like, we know the magic, we know what's behind the magic, but we still love the magic, you know, and I will never give that up as realism, but it's not for me. You know, it's not for the work, really. It's not about me, it's about the work. So I take that self out of it. So, yeah, that, there, I forget his name, but if you want to know some of these people, some of them are just picked plumb out of nowhere. This guy here, he was the character in JFK that, what was it, the little guy, what's his name? I just popped out of my head, was in all the Scorsese movies. What's his name? Joe Pesci. He played this character who was just like a crazy little all over the place guy who was supposedly plotting the assassination. So, you know, but you wouldn't know that from there. So like it's forcing you to deal with what it evokes as opposed to who it is.
Yeah.
So that's my point.
Yeah. So I have a question,
Yes.
and this kind of goes to Joey's question where she's asking about the teeth. Like, these paintings force us to focus on the eyes and the mouth, which are so expressive. And it makes me wonder if you, when you were creating the work, spent more time.
No.
No. I
No.
mean, clearly not if you didn't notice
most
the bad
time
teeth.
because in this software, what typically falls away is the nose. And I come from a family of noses. Yeah. That's you got something that goes this way, that way, and we're friends. So that's the hardest thing to recreate in terms of how much of it is their nose and how much it is my invention. The invention of that nose. And this guy's a random guy. Have anybody heard of the? I guess I can't remember the explicit title, but the I think it's this artist has taken photographs of the range of people complexions around the world, and he's found their Pantone colors. So it's a great way to go to. I get that face, and then I change the color and stuff, and I got hurt. I don't know who she is. I don't know who she is. I don't know who he is. They're workmen. Like that guy is a miner. And I do have I hope I don't offend anybody. Banksters, people who crashed our economy in '08 that never went to jail. She's one of them. And there are some great historical photos. Like I found a number of images, mugshots of people from the earliest photography, and it just sort of magnified. They're just like intense, mesmerizing, and I feel like I hate them. So I fight with the notion of like my preferences in just anybody, but I want enough of us regular folks to be a part of this, because in general, celebrity culture, I'm just tired. Oh God, and the next body of work deals with profiles and what I call a paywall. And so like everybody sells their profile as, an influencer and stuff. But then again, that's my value judgment. On the other hand, when I interact with the piece, that kind of goes out the window because I have to look at it as a piece and what's going on in it. So, what Duchamp called a paint sniffer. He was talking about Picasso and Bosley Kandinsky. So at a certain point, if you start with something, you have an intention, and then you hit that sensual experience of paint, texture and stuff. It's like, okay, you think you were going that way? This is brought to you by the makers of paint, texture, or what have you, because you can't just, in the experience that I've had, you can't just disregard that because the medium will tell you what's possible as opposed to your intention. That is a development thing. So the guy that's on the poster is I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember or seen come across it, the guy who created the cartoon Ignat, I think from the 20s, and for all his life he passed as white. So, it's like, oh, why don't I just paint him? And we're going to be doing a monoprint. And I wanted to get as many a collection, no notables, no one you would know. And then I started a pattern of my selection. It was mostly on interesting faces, and the shift from the beautiful people on Pinterest to everyday people. And I want to get everyday people. And I don't know who they are, but we are the majority. there was no, you want to say something?
I just have a question.
Yes.
On your process, do you paint the whole face and then paint the mask?
Right, right.
There's one in my office that when he brought it home, I said, oh,
This is my wife, Mama.
sorry. And please don't paint over it. So that's in my office. So I don't paint over that one. But they are full.
If you look at there's a poster up there and there's a few around, you can see the underpainting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I invest a lot of effort, and unless they start to sort of evoke this thing, this goes to the question again of when you let them go. It's like when they start to have a sense that they can question me and say, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I've gotten in the world, I may be 50%, 30%, but if I hadn't sacrificed that, I haven't given that, you wouldn't be going to 80 and 90% of high quality. But they have to get in the world, and then when they can sort of suggest they have an interior and can question, not only have an internal critique and can question the audience, they're done whether I like it or not. That's the way it is with this stuff. Other questions?
I've got one more question for you, Phillip.
Yes.
The way you've laid out your canvas and left some raw canvas on either side, I sort of start to pick up like a Polaroid feel or a film strip. Can you speak a little bit about that, about your choice there?
That's a good response because that had never occurred to me. There are two reasons why. Oh no, seriously, that never occurred to me. I'm like, okay, I can use that. But one thing to break the genre of portrait is to leave the painting tell you, yeah, I'm an illusion, but I'm still a painting, brother, and I still got material properties. So I left that, and then one of the reasons I switched to sculpture, you didn't have to frame anything, and so there's always an effort to frame things that I don't want to do, and plus the depth gives. You see most still-about frames, they're so thin, and to me, they sometimes, they really have to overcome their amateur's format, right? And be something that can hold your attention, or at least if you're looking at them the way, they can be perceived, where I perceive them. And so giving them that little heft and wrapping it around, it pays homage to the sculpture in me. And that this image, I tell the students, when we're drawing the figure, it has to be convincing enough, at the early stages that you imagine what's behind it, that you'll believe it. And so now we have a turnstile. I'm going to make draw literally in the round. So that's that.
Any other questions?
Roger Miller, that's what I was trying to say. Roger Miller, weirdly enough, Roger Miller and George Jones saved my life. The boy knows blues, in their own blues. I was having a tough time at one period, and I just listened to that all the time. But he has this song, "Where Have All the Average People Gone?" And that's like, where are they? I want to see those people. Because the celebrities, I'm already like prejudiced to start with. What do we look like? We look like us.
Yeah.
So that's it.
All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you.